Hello, everybody, and welcome here to another Kerfuffle webinar with the famous, infamous, dare I say it, Tango Pig of OpenBrix. You're looking resplendent there, sir. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm not so tangled at the moment because we're not getting good weather, but I'm all good.
Right, keep it cheerful. Come on, Adam. You're on the. This isn't Christopher Watkins. This. We keep things really cheerful here. And to double down on that, just to show the bog off deal you've got, we are joined here today by Agent Consigliere himself, Mr. David Mintz. How are you, David?
Hello, everybody. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How's it all going?
It's good. You're looking really good and resplendent there in your prison uniform.
Yeah, well, I like a bit of cell block H.
Whoa, who doesn't? Yeah, exactly. Lizzie, all that lot. B. Smith. Anyway, just to keep this relevant again, because I do tend to drift. Adam, we've been lucky enough to catch up with you and the growth of the business, the really exciting stuff you're doing. Obviously, you're there with blockchain. I have to get that in straight away at the beginning. So that people understand here today, we're going to be spending a bit of time on just one of the 8 different areas, core areas of the business that you're looking at. The really exciting one, MLS. And we're going to be talking here about unlocking agent collaboration with the MLS itself. Now, to prove that there are no stupid questions, could you just explain to us what an MLS is?
An MLS, well, it's a multi-listing service, and it's primarily how countries all around the world operate and sell property. So it's about collaboration, sharing, and we've just typically not done that. And there's, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but we've not done that. And but it's a way an agent can get an instruction and then share it with other agents in their country or globally, and they can collaborate and split the fee. Typically, though, what is very interesting is that the fees for estate agent fees or equivalent realtors charge a lot more.
Yeah.
So that's why, again, another reason why MLS has never really quite worked here, but we've come up with a quintessentially British version, because the overseas MLS just would not work here. I mean, you sometimes get 5 agents splitting a fee.
So could you just explain just on that? Because as you said, in the States, it's absolutely prevalent. There's loads of MLSs and everything else there. Just on that one basis, why can't you just rinse and repeat the let's say the American MLS here? What is it about our particular market? Is it literally just the low fees that's the issue here?
It's primarily a fee. Well, yeah, I mean that's the main one, because they're charging 2-3 times the amount that we charge. And so but what they're often doing is they're sharing it amongst, in Europe, for example, in Spain, you could get, I sold my property a couple of years ago out in Spain, and had 5 agents sharing the fee. I mean, I was charged, I think 6.5% or something, which was expensive.
And that famously is pretty much the standard in the States, is that you can get 3% as the selling agent, 3% as the buying agent, but it's not entirely unusual for one agent to represent both sides through some sort of Chinese walls affair.
For that reason alone, it just wouldn't work here like that. And also, you have to, the MLSs often take a cut of the sale fee, and also there's a commitment that you have to load all your properties onto an MLS. So it's very authoritarian.
Do you think it's an all or nothing sort of thing? You're either all in with everything.
Mostly,
okay.
Yeah.
And we've proved we need a cake. We need our cake and eat it. So you've got a Brexit MLS. Talk to me though, in terms of technologically, what does an agent need to get involved with you guys to just get the ball rolling with this kind of MLS kind of?
Well, we're just finishing off, as you alluded to. We started our foundation block using blockchain was the portal, because we needed those reference points. Once we've got the property identity, the consumer identity, the agent identity, and various suppliers all having identities, then how the blockchain works is just they connect them together on a peer-to-peer basis. So unlike a centralized business where you need to have your server is God effectively, and it controls everything. Well, OpenBrix platform can be as big as it wants to be, because each individual, each agent branch, each consumer, each supplier is effectively building the platform. Yeah. So that's how it works. And they just connect. You choose to share what you want to choose to share with with another party. And that's kind of how it works.
And that's the crucial element, that control you were talking about, isn't it? So talk to us about, let's just talk about why people should stay watching agents here. What's the benefit? We'll come on to the consumer, and I think there's some massive points there which we should deal with up front. But what's the benefit for the agents themselves?
Well, I think primarily, whilst we're going to come back to consumer, it's about giving the best service to the consumers, and that should be at the heart and soul of everything an agent does, really. And if you do a good job, you want to be paid well for it. So, but the benefits to the agents at the moment is that it's an accepted stat that probably the likelihood is you've only got a 50% chance of selling that property that you work so hard to get this whole instruction on. You have a 50% chance. Now, again, using stats accepted around the world, if you're using an MLS, that goes up to 90. And the 10% failure rate is normally down to the vendor withdrawing. So it's pretty guaranteed you'll sell it. But my argument has always been, right, I don't want to, if I've worked really hard to get an instruction, why do I only want a 50% chance of selling it? I'd like that 90%. And it might be that I'm going to have a really good crack at it myself in my first 4 or 5 weeks. I'm going to work really hard. But if I haven't sold it and I've only done 3 viewings and I'm starting to think this one's going to go, why would you not say, do you know what, I'm going to put this on the MLS now. I'm going to put it onto my network. Yeah. You don't want to put it on the whole of an MLS. You can set up your own little bespoke network of 2 or 3 or 10 agents, whatever you want to call it. And you just agree with each agent which property you want to share and what percentage commission you're prepared to share it with. You can give a flat fee. You might say, I'm going to give it you to point. I'm going to let you have 0.5% because you're on Rightmove. But I'm only going to give it to you at 0.4% because you're on
so Adam, who decides that? Is that effectively the lead agent? So it's not the vendor themselves.
The primary agent gets to choose and gets to make the rules on each property, who's he shares it with. I mean, you can do it, as I'm saying, there's an easy click button. It means it goes out to the whole of the whole world. We've got overseas agents sitting on
right. Okay.
But if you want to not share it to everyone and you want to be a little bit more spoke, but you want your little high street little network to share it, not include the idiot at the end of the high street.
That's how David's known, actually, in North Manchester.
Yeah. Just talking about more serious points for a second, Mr. Whale. Do you think, fees aside, and we're going to come to fees in a second, because I think this is, as an agent, that's what worries me most about this sort of thing. So we're going to talk about that. But do you think the UK as an industry, do you think our attitudes to collaboration between agents is what's held us back from getting into MLS properly?
Yeah, I do. I do, because there's that sort of kind of competition that, you want to work hard to get your instruction, but then you don't want to let it go. And it's really making that decision to risk that fee and risk losing it, or whether saying, do you know what, I'm prepared to give away a third of it, and I'm going to guarantee that 2/3 of the fee. But the important thing here is that when you're looking at fees, if you're typically being negotiated down to, I don't know, 1% or 1.25% for a sole agency fee, your other option is the multi-agents, where the vendor will instruct 2 or 3 agents, and of course the fee goes up to 2% or 1.75 or something. Well, my argument with the MLS is that this is a pitching tool, because if I'm a vendor and I've got an agent coming around to me and saying, look, don't put it on with other agents. I've got a new tool where I've got a network of 12 agents in the county, and I will share this property with them from day 1 or from week 4, whatever. And further to that, I can also push this out to the whole world. I would think that's worth more fees than just a traditional multi.
It's a pretty hard one to disagree with the logic on that, isn't it? And I mean, when you were talking about before, I was thinking about saying, well, it's just a case of having a smaller bit of a bigger pie. But even that analogy is wrong, because it's actually just having a bit of the pie that you weren't going to have before, were you? As you said, if 50% aren't obviously going there, it's like John McGrath, the famous Australian agent, used to said, a listing's a liability until the minute it's sold, isn't it? The amount of work and effort you put in on everything.
But you're banking the fact that you've now got a 90% chance of selling this. And I just think at the end of the day, you know, when you, as an agent, and I was one for 28 years, you know, you go around and you're trying to get the business so that you're prepared to be as positive you can as you possibly should be, legally and correctly on the price, but also you're going to do the best job on your fee. You're looking to cut down fee. And I would say to agents, I'd be going in and saying, look, this is 1.75. And it might be that you end up you're giving away 0.75 to one of your other agents, but you're getting 1%, and you've got now a 90% chance of getting that 1% rather than the 50%.
And is that enough? So, I mean, there's a whole discussion going on as to whether or not fees above 1% are the norm in the UK, because a lot of agents you'll speak to, typically we get to hear from the best agents, and the best agents love to say that 2% is where they would set the stall out, but they end up settling somewhere between 1.25%. I can tell you locally what goes on. If I can get 1%, we're high-fiving each other in the office, and that's the reality of it. And we'll settle. Most agents locally would settle for about 0.75% if they could get their hands on it. So it's at that sort of level. You then need to turn around to a vendor and say, listen, Mr. Vendor, we're going to now offer you something that hopefully gives you more exposure. And then therefore your fee's going to increase. Vendors have been badly educated on fees, and this is the issue. They think, and it's not just us, I suppose people like OpenBrix along the way have done us a little bit of a disservice in terms of managing their expectations as to what values agents bring to the table. But I tell you what, where I could see using this every day of the week is it's a great instruction saver. So if you can't sell the property and you don't want to lose the property, well then half a loaf is better than no loaf at all. You're going to go for something, aren't you?
It's not just a saver, is it? It's a fee defender. You know, whatever, as long as you can get across that this is a benefit, you might not be able to get your fee up, but maybe it stops you dropping it down, as you said before, from the 1% down to 1.7%.
The other thing you're not thinking about here is we're just talking about the service to the vendor, and obviously, but it's also for the consumer, because your vendor usually will get their house under offer first before they start looking at other properties in a general rule. And of course, once your vendor has sold their property, you can say, so where are you moving to? Oh, we're looking to move to Nottingham. Fantastic. Would you like me to show you some properties? So you can can then start acting for their vendor in their purchase.
So if I put my super small business owner's hat on for a second, and let's just say I was a startup, so I'm an agent with very, very little stock. I would be going out to anybody that provides an MLS and saying, I want to sign today, because I've got that mission to build up my stock levels. But if effectively I can hook into a network of instructions and perhaps, again, maybe you won't like this analogy, but feed off the instructions that other people have been unsuccessful with selling. Very often I find that on joint instructions, it is the smaller agent that's more motivated to actually get the sale for the owner, because they're hungry. They're far more hungry than these big machines we see out there.
I absolutely agree. And, and you're right, that analogy of the feeder. But it works. But look, if you've got a feeder that helps you sell your property, and you're going to claim the 1%, and you're giving 0.5 away to the feeder, are you going to worry? Your reputation upheld. You've done the job. You've done in charge of the viewing. It's, to me, you get your sale board up. I think it's I think it's a no-brainer. I really do.
Adam, I think we might have to ask you to repeat that last bit.
The deep state.
That's all right. We're talking about the. Yeah, they're probably looking at me now. It was about the feeders coming in, as you referred to them.
Yeah.
So, as an agent, would you mind a feeder coming in and saving your sale? I wouldn't mind.
So, again, I think if it was between building up a weaker competitor, if you like, because that's really the other way you could look at it. If I'm a big agent and I've got loads of listings, I could look at this as well, Adam's only got one or two. I'm effectively going to be giving him a leg up by collaborating with him. But that's probably a little bit short-sighted, because Adam's always going to be hungry. He's always going to want to build his business. And if it's between me losing that,
there you go. It's
losing the instruction is bad business for everybody. End of story.
If you accept that that's the worst thing, isn't it? Then it's just degrees of better than that.
100%. And I'll tell you, the biggest thing that comes out of this is what Simon said earlier, is there is a huge advantage to one person in particular here, and it's the vendor.
Yeah. But also,
Massively.
just to go back to your other point, so you don't want to share your property with me. Well, let's not use me as an analogy, because I would never have done this. I was an agent. But there were agents who tried to grow in my area.
Yeah.
If I didn't work with them, they'd knock down my boards. They'd go and put notes through the vendor's letterbox anyway. I'd rather they work for me.
Yeah, no, I suppose you're right. And I suppose if you are the lead agent, you're in control, you call the shots, and you're able to divvy up the fee effectively in a way that is equitable and fair.
That bit's all done on the blockchain, and just to bore you again, but that means it's indelible, it's immutable, it's time stamped, can't be edited, so we know when the viewing went ahead. It's very clever. I have to say, it's very clever. We've showed it to a few agents because we're, it's ready, but we're just waiting for the last two pieces of our puzzle, which on two other products, before we go big on it. But we've been testing it, and it's super powerful. It's great. It really is.
But never mind your analogy there, Dave, in terms of the new starter. The one thing that this market at the moment, everyone's in that scenario where they've got precious little stock, haven't they? So on the basis of, look, actual boards generate boards breed boards, but digital boards are the same thing here as well, aren't they? So you still want to show you are an active practicing agent to get across to any particular browsing potential client that you're the agent they should talk to.
100%. And that actually, I think that where MLS probably comes into its own is in the higher end of the market, where the values are much higher, therefore the commissions are also higher. But
and the buyers are in less supply as well.
Less supply. It is harder to sell a high value, a prestige property. So if you look typically at your sort of the kind of stuff that you see people like Fine and Country knocking about, those are typically listings that we would say are, I don't know, they're footballer listings, aren't they? You're banking on a footballer walking into your branch and going, that's the house that I want.
Or a prop tech legend.
Or a prop tech legend. But as you know, there are far fewer prop tech legends than there are footballers walking into branches these days. But those are typically properties that anyway end up going joint. They're harder to sell. And if Adam were to reach out to me and say, listen, can we collaborate on it? I would probably see that as an absolute, it's great to be able to work with other agents on difficult listings, because when that vendor calls you and says, hey, David, why is my property not moving? I can say, okay, well, I've spoken to Adam. He's experiencing the same thing. We're both pushing it as much as possible. And it's sort of the strength in numbers.
The other thing I like about it is it's so flexible. So we've talked about this whole MLS, as we call it. That means basically if you want to put it on that network, well, the world gets to see it. But if you don't want to do that, and there are many reasons why you might not want to do that, your client might not want that. But you can just set up your own little network, and you can
I love that option. So actually, sometimes there's the bastard nobody wants to work with, but actually, a lot of competitors understand that there are opportunities that come around working closer together. So to bring that, and it's really worthwhile pointing out, Adam, as well, although it's fair to say it hasn't impacted in the way that it has other countries, MLS has been proven to work in different pockets and niches. At one stage there was 400 500 agents in the team network, weren't there, working all along the South Coast, working collaboratively. And I think my perception was it was the technology more than the actual principle that meant that didn't work. And of course, in central London, the half commission nature of things with, like Lon Res has been working quite happily in what you were just terming there, the prime market, David, where it has always been about finding that right buyer.
Right. Yeah.
But the other thing, if you can set up your network just, with 6 other agents in your high street, but not the 7th, because no one likes him or her. But equally, if you're an independent with, say, 30 branches, and you don't want it, you just want to share your property amongst your 30 branches, well, you can now. And the administrator can have, if there was a head office, they can have admin rights over all of it. So they get to see who's working. But, I worked for a corporate when I first came into agency in the late 80s. And, we all used to take our card boxes home with us because I was no way I was going to let the guy on the next table have it. And as for passing an instruction to another office, you'd rather cut your arm off. But, we went out and said, oh, yes, no, we've got branches, we'll share. But no one did. And I still think there's a little bit of that mentality.
But look, I can tell you now, Adam, there is definitely in the CRM world there, with some of the best known top end agencies there, this was their CRM, and the idea of putting that into that package was anathema to them. It was absolute. But here's the thing: all it ever did, that kept that kind of black magic of, oh, it's all in my head, isn't it? Who's the person that sort of suffers at the end of the day? David highlighted it again. It's the vendor, it's the consumer. So let's just focus on that for a minute, because I think again we've touched on that. Is there, if you were to come up with quite a compelling pitch as an agent now, which obviously, David, you do this incredibly successfully, you could create literally the best landmine pitch. You know how they always say go in last? If you had this in your kit bag, you'd be wanting to get in there first, wouldn't you? And saying, unless they have this ability to offer X, Y, Z that we have with the MLS, that's quite a difficult way. That's quite a difficult argument to get your way out of, as if you're the follow-up agent who doesn't have it.
Potentially, I think what you're doing is you're taking your competition out of the picture from day one by saying, listen, you want to list it with Simon as well. You're seeing Simon on Tuesday. I can tell you, if you choose to go down this path, you'll have Simon, you'll have myself, you're also going to have Adam, Steve, Jane, Susie, whoever it is. And
here's the thing, Dave. That nice, when everyone's going, oh, don't go with purple bricks, or whoever the villain of it is. And you know what? You all just end up looking like dickheads, don't you? Shouting it. If you can be the bigger, more confident person, say, look, that Simon over at that agency, he's absolutely fantastic. Actually, he's got a bit of a poor dress sense and everything else. But you can just as you do, rattle through that and say, look, I'm not here to tell you to pick between any one of us. In fact, why
you can have all of us? Yeah,
have all of them.
It's really interesting, but there are agents that play that trick. So if you are losing an instruction, a vendor might say, if the vendor really likes you and has confidence that you're trying as hard as you can, there's nothing wrong with you per se, but they just want a little bit more exposure, they'll say, well, can I bring on a second agent? And there is an agent local to me where that happens very often, and his answer to that is, oh yeah, I'll work with David, not a problem at all. And what he does is he'll get on the phone to me and say, David, if you've got any buyers, just send them through to us, we'll look after them. He's now got the ability to pick up the phone to that vendor and say, I've said to David, if he's got any buyers, just send them through. But for me, that doesn't work, because I don't get to market the property, so I don't get the exposure. But under Adam's method and using an MLS, and particularly where trust is low between competing agents, if the blockchain gives you an undeniable statement of truth on fees and traceability and trackability of your vendor, your viewer, and I've just talked myself into this MLS thing. Send me over the direct debit form, Adam. All right.
That counts as a kerfuffle referral, right?
It's free. It's free to use.
So talk us through, and just so I understand, because I am simple. So how do you do it? How do you do it, Adam? How do you manage to keep all this free?
That's just been a commercial decision. We've, as I say, I've got some NDAs on myself, so I can't.
Well, you told me, obviously you didn't tell me that. What I do know is this conversation we had offline, without going into detail. There is some really, we should have put this back a few weeks, because you've got some really exciting stuff coming out in the wash over the coming weeks and months, haven't you?
We've gone deliberately dark for the last few months, because when we realized that the last year I was sort of beginning to talk about stuff, we were going to hold the MLS back, but of course Mr. Big Mouth here, I started to talk too much about it. So we just took a view that we were going to just build out our rest of our products. Now we've got 250 odd agents who have been fantastic on us really helpful. We did a vote with them the other day, and we had an 83% response, which is superb, which is, I think, very high. And about charging and about, look, we're thinking of doing this. How many of you want this? We asked them 3 questions, and they answered all of them, and we've made decisions based off those agents. It's been really helpful. But yeah, we want to present the industry with you know, no barrier.
So
It's wonderful that you seem to be coming very firmly from the point of view of, you know, not a supplier to, but a partner with the business as well. Is you from day one, you know, that you said yourself, that ability with blockchain. And again, you always talk about me being technical, and I'm the least technical. But what I love is you did take the absolute decision to democratize it in terms of the decision making. You chose to, with great power comes great responsibility, not to own that yourself, which would have been seen very suspicious, wouldn't it, with a big corporate doing it. You chose to actually give that back to your clients and members of the blockchain.
Yeah, we have. I mean, even like on the MLS, when an agent claims a property, no one else, we don't even know. No, it's all, you know, every agent only shares the data they want to share. There's nothing, and it's only with that other agent, not with anyone else.
and Adam, as long as it doesn't sort of go against any confidentiality, and if you want, you can edit this out later, Simon. But I'm going to ask a question.
You mean we're streaming live?
If I were to, we stream. Oh, well, then, Mr. Pigott, let me ask you. If I were to sign up to this today, will it remain free forever?
Yeah, I want the products too. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, you've got to remember we're also governed by our community.
Right.
So if the community turn around to us and say, look, we want to have this product free, but actually, you know, we think we should be charging this, and that. So I don't have.
But that would, Adam, that would be the agents them then choosing to say, look, there's a commercial benefit to actually having.
They might say, look, they might want a new function on the MLS, and that might, you know, it might be that's going to cost money. So it might, at the moment, look, going forward, as far as I'm concerned, the MLS is free to use. And that's the way we want to keep it that way.
Well, Adam, I've got to say, I'm a bit pissed off here, because how the hell do we get a kerfuffle deal on free? What do you do? Do you pay them next?
I was going to say, I don't know quite how. Well, we do, of course. OpenBrix does.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
we do pay.
Whole model. So okay. Again, nuts and bolts here in terms of why would you not give it a go? I think is the answer. You're in a market now that is absolutely crying out for stock and the perception of stock and everything else. How do they get involved? I mean, obviously, wonderful pink button on there on the OpenBrix. Obviously, there, click interested. We'll pass you straight through. But the actual process for getting up and involved, just talk us through.
Yeah, well, it's registered just to register at openbrix.co.uk. You'll get a response straight back. You'll need your property feed. Now, people say, oh, you know, portal. The portal is on the back side here. Let's not worry about the portal. But the more we grow other products, we'll grow the portal. We'll start spending money on the portal when it's big enough.
What's wonderful there, though, Adam, isn't it? So you're not talking about here like some people are talking about chucking tens of millions, and a lot of that would go straight. You're just talking about growing this organically over time by providing value-added services, and as long as they're still getting value-added services from that, the net effect will be a portal, which, by the way, many agents want a solution for from an independent company.
To have a portal, you've got to have the properties. So before you get the properties, you need the agents. Once you've got the agents and you've got their properties, then you can start working out how you're going to get the consumer feed. So, you know, we make no bones about it. Our portal, people on the portal hardly get any leads at all. I mean, it's a handful a month. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. Why would we? We're not pushing the portal out. But we know that potentially could be the end game. But by selling the products, let me create something useful like the MLS, let you have it for free. I'm getting your property feed. We'll put it on the portal. And as and when more and more agents, we've got all of these other products as well, which I can't talk about. But as and when, you know, we've got some agents who've asked us to design something and build a product. We kind of know we're going to build this.
Well, I'm going to actually make this a kerfuffle deal properly. For the first 10 agents to claim this via kerfuffle,
Yeah.
No such thing as a free lunch. I'm actually going to send them lunch for them and their
Love
staff.
it, love it.
But on the basis, I want their feedback and I want to know how it was to
Exactly.
use it. I want their user experience and I want to be
Yeah,
able
we
to
want them
talk
to
to them.
talk about it on a panel, don't we? That's a great.
100%. So that is that. There it is.
Yeah, listen, I
Lunches with
want
me.
to. We will make this. I mean, we've designed this and built this based on discussions with UK agents, following all our research overseas. And by the way, we're also building this out in Portugal, Poland, Spain, and the Cayman Islands, where we're building.
You need a
Has,
sales
has, has he just
person,
picked
David.
anybody on the green list?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Cayman Islands and Spain. I'm not sure they are on the green list. But
Well, as soon as you need somebody selling it there, my Caymanese language skills are great.
the point is that we built it the way we feel we should build it to make it work for the UK.
Yeah.
But if there are things that need, if the community say to me, we want it to do something else, we'll just build it out. We'll do it. So
Can I just ask then? I'll ask you, David, because for some time now I haven't really got this in terms of. I've never been an agent apart from when I used to pretend to be for the first 10 years. But why, when it seems so obvious that this delivers benefits, as we've spoken about, for the key stakeholders, the agents and the consumers, why would you not do this? Is it literally just coming back down to the mindset and we've,
Yeah. So I've been thinking about
started?
this. I've been thinking about this the whole way through. It is not about the money, because if you were to say to me, David, you're going to lose 10 of your instructions tomorrow, you're not going to get a penny off it. It is naturally going to go to your competition after that, and you don't get a second chance after that. They're not going to call you in for third stab at it.
Well, sorry, David, just on that, one of the biggest problems you've got as well, again, with human vanity, is that even though the first agent who might have given them all the right advice in terms of pricing, you get the vendors not wanting to go back to them because they don't want to have the old "I told you so" routine, even though, of course, you wouldn't.
We all get we are very precious about it. But I think the bottom line is this. We know it makes commercial sense not to lose listings. We know it makes commercial sense on some basis to share listings. And I'll be honest with you, after listening to Adam, I would not put all my stock on there because I think the stuff that I'm going to sell overnight, why should I share a portion of that?
But you've got the ability to.
But I know that anybody above £1 million in my marketplace, it's tough going. Those are the prestige instructions we all want. But let's face it, nursing them and babysitting them along, it's difficult. And I would like some help with that. And actually, at that sort of level, I can afford to split fees quite easily. So for me, that works. But I think if you're asking why MLS has really not taken, it comes down to attitudes within our industry. And if there ever was a time where attitudes looked like they were starting to change, it is now in the sort of post-COVID. I hope we're post-COVID.
We're getting table service in pubs now. I mean, who would have thought that 2 years?
It's amazing. You could not have got that had you petitioned for it for years. No,
that might work in those foreign countries, but not over here.
It was. I think it should be a political party's campaign election promise: table service in all pubs. But I think coming back down to it, there is this we're in an unprecedented era of collaboration between agents, and if that helps to break down the barriers and those, we were an extremely paranoid industry. And I think that we've learned that we've got more to gain when we share. And I'm sure that all 250 of Adam's member agents, or whoever he's got on board with him, are all forward-thinking agents who understand that the future is going to look very, very different.
I mean, your friend Murray, David, and that whole, whatever you believe on that side of things, but that boycott right move group is when they're looking for a new home, and and this is a period of, as they would talk about it, unprecedented collaboration. Surely to find some of those ones well, we're going to obviously share it to their group now, so I hope you're listening here. But that would be fascinating to hear these people who see the bigger picture and really want to give something like this a go.
We've kind of worked with them. I've had a lot of support from David Thomas from Liberty Gate and his group, and Murray, and Maurice Kilbride, and I've met with and Paul Davies as well. He's been very supportive.
Yeah.
And I've met with Rob Sargent. So we've been in touch, but we've got quite a big database of interest we've been gathering. So we've got a few thousand on the database. People have responded, say, look, we're interested, keep us posted.
Yeah.
But we've been actually testing it with
Okay.
250 agents. So we once we sort of connect the last two pieces of the puzzle, which we imagine is going to be around June, mid.
Okay, well, I mean, that's got to be a panel worth having for us, isn't it? We want to talk to them, hear from them, because there'll be loads of different niche ways that they've been using, and that's where I always get really excited. You see the suppliers who think this is how it's going to work, these are the benefits, and every time I used to go on a a client services site visit or whatever else, it would always throw up, ways in imaginative ways that agents have found to use it, and it does take on a life of its own at that point.
I think the bit where the blockchain is really helpful for us is that when we give everyone an ID, what in fact they're getting is a wallet, but we're not putting crypto coin in it. We're putting information in that. So when someone connects with a supplier, for example, they do it directly, and all the information the supplier needs goes directly into our system. So we're not telling the suppliers, oh, you need to change your system. We're saying, tell us what information you need, and we'll put it into your system via an API. So all the sort of wheel that is OpenBrix does with all its products, it speeds things up, massively speeds things up, avoids its process efficiency, avoids double entering, and having to retype stuff. And I again, I speak to agents every day, and I know they've got a great bit of software, but they have to type everything in, and it's like, why do you do that?
No, it's an eternal buggeration for them, isn't it, in terms of their. Well, look, I think we'd love to hear from those guys, as Dave's thrown down for the Kerfuffle Trailblazers, looking for 10 that we'd love to obviously work with you guys and give us on the basis that they will give us feedback.
Free lunch. Stress the lunch. They like the lunch. They don't like us. They like the lunch. That's what they want.
I have a nasty feeling my Kerfuffle invoice is suddenly going to go up, isn't it?
I told you, there's only some people out here that offer a free service.
Free lunch.
You can see we've had too many free lunches. But anyway, Adam, as ever, it's fantastic listening to you. I think what we take from this more than anything is, again, you're not even sat on your laurels, obviously, after a fairly fresh launch and everything else. You're just looking at ways that you can improve the journey for both the consumer and the agents. And as such, that's the sort of company I would be saying to an agent that you want to be aligning yourself with. So even if you just want to find out what this MLS is about, or the other 7 elements of what they have on offer, drop Adam a line and find out more.
Yeah, please do, and I'll respond personally and directly. And yeah, we've been dark the last 5 months, but I don't think I've ever worked harder in my life. So it's been a busy time.
Well, you need to get back out there, work on your tan, even though you make me look like someone Scottish.
And I love it, like he makes out he's Julian Assange hiding in the Ecuadorian embassy or something. I've had to go dark.
I've had nights like that. Okay, guys, look, fantastic. Great hearing from you again, Adam. Thank you for your thoughts on this as well, David, and thank you for everyone who's watching, and please catch up soon.
Thanks, guys, and nice to meet you, David, and thanks again, Simon.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.